United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have our announcements and report section. Mayor, it's my understanding we have 3 proclamations and a couple of employee recognitions. Sir, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. I would like to invite Lieutenant Jeff Otwell to come up and bring his wife Jennifer, if he doesn't mind. We are recognizing Lieutenant Otwell tonight for his service with the fire department, 20 years. Wife Jennifer, they've been married 27 years, and he calls her his rock. That's a great attitude. That's absolutely a great attitude. So Jeff came to us from Lincoln Fire Department, but in the Tarrant City Fire Department. Remember when you came on with us? Chief Bradley hired him back in 2001, and he spent 7 years working at Station 8, and he also worked with our fire explorers, which is a privilege and something that trains individuals that want to, high school kids that want to move on to the fire service. He's worked at Station 4 on Rescue 40. That's our busiest rescue unit in the city. He served as an honor guard in the chaplain group for our department as well. And in 2013, he was promoted to fire lieutenant and moved to Station 8. But now you're back at Station 3 now, aren't you? That's a great station there. They used to have a really good captain there back in the 80s. He also teaches and mentors 10th through 12th graders at RC3, and that's a program that the whole city is proud of, to have our students come through and learn to be either firefighters or EMTs, and that's a great ministry in itself. They have 2 sons, Jacob and Justin, and both of them are serving in the Lord's work and ministry, one in Michigan and one down in Florida. Is that correct? What a great individual he is, just a shining star in the Hoover Fire Department, no doubt. The type person that you want to have representing you, and if you have an emergency, this is the man that you want to look up and see helping you, and he's just a quality individual. And one thing a lot of folks don't know about it, maybe some of the councilmen know, he's an outstanding guitar player and singer, and for some reason he wouldn't do that tonight. But congratulations for your 20 years of service. Let me get a little picture here. I got new glasses and I can't see them. You have to kind of adjust, but it's kind of tough. I'd like for Executive Officer Kenny Fountain to come up, please, with the police department. Come on down. Thank you. Executive Officer Fountain started his law enforcement career in 1994 at the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and he came to Hoover in 1996, and he served in various assignments throughout the department as a police officer, a sergeant, and a police lieutenant. He also has simultaneously served our country and the United States Army Reserves, and actually retired after 22 years of service, active and reserve duty. He's also served on our Special Response Team, the SRT, and he's part of our Honor Guard from 2003 to 2005, and he's worked with the County Aviation Support Unit and has also been involved in Special Olympics, and we appreciate that as well. In February of 2021, he was assigned to the office of the Chief of Police as the Chief Executive Officer, And you had some big shoes to fill. I know you know that, and he's doing a great job, and I have an opportunity to work with him in that role, and I appreciate everything that he's doing there. And I know it's a difficult job because of who you're working for, but that's all right. So, but he oversees the daily operations of the Office of the Chief, managing the different projects, the internship, right along, the explosive ordnance disposal unit. And we're very proud to announce that he's going to the FBI Academy in about when started October the 3rd. And that's quite an honor for our officers to get selected to go to that prestigious academy. And so congratulations on that. And I'll tell you, we had an opportunity, of course, police officers have an opportunity to deal with people from all different backgrounds and walks and problems and so on and so forth. And some of the folks that they deal with that need special understanding and care are soldiers that come back and suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. And he put together a program to help other police officers identify those problems and to work with them. And that just took place less than, a month ago, I would think. So we're very proud that we've got that caliber of person serving on our police department. And I think it's very good to let our citizens know and understand the type of people that we do have serving here. Thank you so much for your service. And we have several proclamations, and I'm happy to introduce those tonight. And I would love for Miss Kelly Peoples to come up, who is the Executive Director of Down Syndrome Alabama. And we have Shelley and Lauren Waits and their three sons, Matthew, Bo, and Tucker. And we have Michael and Angela Warren and her two daughters, Ava and Mia. If y'all would come up, we'd love to read this proclamation for Alabama Down Syndrome Day and October as National Down Syndrome Awareness Month. So, Mr. City Attorney, if you would.
Whereas Down syndrome is the most frequently occurring chromosomal disorder and is the leading cause of intellectual and developmental delay in the United States, and whereas approximately 1 in every 691 children are born with Down syndrome, representing an estimated 5,000 births per year in the United States, with approximately 85 of those annual births occurring here in Alabama. And whereas today, through multiple efforts, people with Down syndrome are offered early intervention services, attend school, procure appropriate health care, choose to live at home or independently, receive transition services and vocational training, have meaningful relationships, volunteer opportunities, maintain a job, experience a life of inclusion and rewarding maturity. And whereas yet, despite significant increases in lifespan and intellectual opportunities over the past decade, there's still much work to be done regarding the rights to equality, inclusion, education, medical care, research, employment, and support for people with Down syndrome. And whereas throughout Hoover, we encourage all citizens to work together to celebrate the lives of individuals with Down syndrome and remember to appreciate and regard every individual with dignity as a valued member of the community. And whereas through public awareness, the City of Hoover supports the initiatives of organizations working to ensure people with Down syndrome have adequate services, are valued by society, and can lead fulfilling and productive lives in our community. Now, therefore, I, Frank V. Burcato, Mayor of the City of Hoover, do hereby proclaim October 1st as Alabama Down Syndrome Day and October as National Down Syndrome Month here in Hoover, Alabama.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Just a brief word about Down Syndrome Alabama. We are dedicated to supporting individuals with Down syndrome, their families, and their communities. We do this through our 3 A's, acceptance and inclusion, which is really important to everyone. We do it through advocacy. We advocate for their rights to make sure that they have the same rights as a typical individual. And we do it through awareness. So we appreciate this. It's hard to celebrate just Down Syndrome Month because if you're around individuals with Down syndrome at any time, it's a celebration. So, but October is our month, and we are going to take that, and we appreciate you guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you, and I would love for Amanda Nur and Travis Diggs to come up, and then we have the junior board, Sonia Varani. If y'all would all stand up here, we would love to read the proclamation for Give Hope Day. Sonia's gonna speak. She's been here before.
Whereas September is National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas childhood cancer remains the #1 cause of disease-related death in children, whereas 1 in 285 children will be diagnosed with childhood cancer by the age of 20, and whereas childhood cancer research continues to be severely underfunded, whereas the Hoover Youth will organize and participate in Give Hope Day on September 24th, the largest organized childhood cancer awareness day in the state. And whereas Give Hope Day brings awareness to childhood cancer and awareness which leads to funding, and funding leads to cures, now therefore I, Frank V. Burcato, Mayor of Hoover, Alabama, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim September 24th, 2021 as Give Hope Day in Hoover, Alabama.
We just wanted to thank the council and Mayor Burcato for giving us this opportunity to declare September 24th as Give Hope Day. Give Hope Day really helps us spread awareness for the cause of childhood cancer. And this Friday, we will be spreading awareness through the Hoover City schools, and we will be giving out bracelets and bows to just really honor the children battling cancer. So we just wanted to thank you guys.
If y'all remember, Sonia was here just a few weeks ago and wanted to work in the mayor's office and come to our council meeting, and I think you even gave a presentation. What did you do, the budget? Did a proclamation. Yeah, great. It's good to have you back. And is Savannah Robinson here? Hello, Savannah. I'm sorry, I did not see. Come on down. So this is also NICU Awareness Day. Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. Is that correct? So we are proud to have this proclamation as well. And Mr. Attorney, if you would read that.
Whereas 500,000 babies are admitted to the neonatal intensive care unit every year, and whereas families of NICU babies struggle to find resources, support, and education, and whereas funding for research into the causes of a NICU stay as well as the holistic care of NICU families is vital, and whereas NICU Awareness Day provides an opportunity for families whose lives have been affected by NICU to share their story, to honor dedicated health professionals, and to meet others and know they are not alone. Whereas the establishment of NICU Awareness Month will also provide visibility to research that improves the quality of life for NICU babies and their parents. Now, therefore, I, Frank V. Burcato, Mayor of Hoover, Alabama, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2021 as NICU Awareness Day in Hoover, Alabama.
I just wanted to say thank you to the council and the mayor and the city of Hoover for recognizing something that's important to me as a mom of a NICU baby. I have a daughter who spent 5 months in the NICU. She was born 16 weeks early. And prior to having my daughter, it was not something, I knew that NICUs existed, but it was not something that ever crossed my mind. My firstborn child did not have a NICU stay, and so it was, you have a baby, you take your baby home. And so since having my daughter, raising awareness has really become a big part of our lives and lives of people that we've met, along our journey. And so it just really means a lot to have people recognize this day with us. But thank you.
Mr. President, may I say one thing?
Sure.
Thank you so much for saying that. My son, my wife went in bed rest at 27 weeks, and I had a 31-weeker. He stayed in the hospital roughly about 6 weeks, and I tell you, the dedication of those nurses and people that just sit with those children is a lot. You have good days, you have bad days, and I just can't thank them enough because when a doctor come in and tell you these are percentages of if your child's going to make it or not, it gets real at that point. So we were blessed and fortunate, but thank you, Mayor, for recognizing this.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Clinton, I understand you have a recognition in the chambers?
Yes, I do. I'm about to embarrass somebody. So, as you know, I used to serve on the Hoover City Schools Foundation as president, and I wanted to recognize, I did not know this, but the foundation has a student board, much like Hope for Autumn and other organizations made up of Hoover High and Spain Park students. And once a month, they pick for their student board some kind of civic organization to go meet. And today, they came to bless and meet the city council and the mayor and see how government runs. So I'd love to have y'all please stand. This is a few members of the student board, about 60 members in both Hoover High and Spain Park. And you have their executive director, Shelley Shaw, and a board member, Lucy Jordan. I just want to thank you guys for being here, and hopefully I won't mess it up and embarrass you. Thank you for being here.
I'd like to now call on Mr. Alan Rice, our city administrator. Mr. Rice, would you mind coming and giving us an update on the Shoal engineering study, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. You'll all recall that we commissioned a study with Shoal Engineering about flooding in the Green Valley neighborhood, and we're pleased to say that that study's been concluded. They're going back and making some amendments to the documents so that they'll be a little more understandable when we release them publicly. But Shoal has brought us targeted information about 4 different floodways that we deal with in Green Valley. One of the projects that you've already approved on an emergency basis along Tamassee Lane. And that went first because of the increase that we saw in runoff from the Patton Chapel Road project, but also because in fixing that issue, we will help correct downstream issues that are affecting the neighborhood below Tamassee, so the Napier, Charlotte area down in there. The other 3 waterway, analysis of the other 3 waterways has been concluded. We now have a really good picture of what's causing some of the issues that we see. We know what is on public right-of-way or public easements and what is a private property issue. Fortunately, we'll be able to release this study to anybody who would like a copy. So if it's a private property owner who's affected and the flooding is not coming from a public right-of-way and they want to remediate it, they'll have the engineering work done that they need to do, and then they can go forward with that type of work. So we hope to have that out in the next few short weeks with properly marked maps so that everybody can understand it. We'll do some public meetings for anybody who'd like to attend so that we can explain that and answer any questions that they might have.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Rice from the body on that item? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now move into our agenda, and we'll begin with the consent agenda. Consent agenda is put together of items that are deemed to be non-controversial, and we will take those with one motion and one vote. I would ask if there's any member of the public who is here to speak on behalf of any one of those items that you see on the agenda to please make us aware at this time, and we will remove it and put it on the regular agenda. Also from the council, if there's any member that would like any item listed on the consent moved, we'll be happy to entertain that. Seeing none, Mr. Corley.
Item 6 is the approval of minutes from the September 2nd, 2021 work session and the September 7th, 2021 meeting. Item number 7, Resolution 653121, authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with the ICIMS, Inc. in substantially the form attached to the resolution. Resolution 653221 authorizes Mayor Mercado to enter into an agreement and execute all documents necessary for the issuance of stop-loss insurance coverage with Granular Insurance Company. Resolution 653321 rejects the sole bid for a traffic signal and roadway lighting services and authorizes the mayor to negotiate pricing and enter into an agreement with Stone & Sons Electrical Contractors, Inc. Resolution 653421 rejects the sole bid for traffic control striping and marking and authorizes the mayor to negotiate pricing and enter into an agreement with Highway Management Systems, Inc. Resolution 653521 rejects the sole bid for electrical maintenance and repair services and authorizes the mayor to negotiate pricing and enter into an agreement with Monroe Electric Company, Inc. Resolution 653621 authorizes the mayor to enter into a reciprocal agreement with the State of Alabama Department of Revenue, providing for the exchange of tax returns and information. Resolution 653721 authorizes the mayor to enter into a lease agreement with the city of Pelham, Alabama for the lease of certain equipment listed in the resolution. Resolution 653821 determines that certain public property, personal property listed in the resolution is not needed for public or municipal purposes and directs the disposal of said surplus property. Resolution 653921 accepts a statutory warranty deed from the Public Park and Recreation Board for the Hoover Metropolitan Stadium. Resolution 654021 authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with Victor Gottsman Performing Arts Facilities Planning and substantially the form attached to the resolution. Resolution 654121 reappoints Jeremy Weiss as a member of the Hoover Park and Recreation Board, and Resolution 654221 reappoints Paul Sanford as a member of the Hoover Park and Recreation Board.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and second for approval of all items on the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. I'd like to recognize Mr. Jeremy Weiss and Mr. Paul Sanford, who are in the chambers tonight. Thank you both for your willingness to serve again on the Hoover Park and Rec Board, and we appreciate your service. We'll now move into our regular agenda and begin with item number 19, ordinance number 21-2539. Mr. Corley.
This is a second reading of an ordinance that annexes the property located at 56 Shades Crest Road, owned by Salvino and Michelle Lanzalata, to the city of Hoover.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of ordinance number 21-2539.
Second.
We have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Are there any questions or comments from members of the body? Hearing none, any questions or comments from members of the public? We have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye, that's 7 ayes, 0 nays. That motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 20 is ordinance number 21-2533. Mr. Corley.
This is a second reading and public hearing for an ordinance which utilizes the 90-day annexation method allowed by Alabama law to annex the property known as the Everly PUD, owned by Signature 150 LLC, Marbury Properties LLC, and CCN Asset Management Company LLC into the city of Hoover.
Mr. President, I move to adopt ordinance number 21-2533.
Second.
We have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Any comments or questions from the body? Any comments or questions from members of the public? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. Again, 7 ayes, 0 nays. The motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 21 is an item we'll ask for unanimous consent and suspension of the rules on. It's ordinance number 21-2541.
This ordinance authorizes the mayor to execute and the city clerk to attest to a Fourth Amendment to ground lease with the Public Park and Recreation Board of the city of Hoover.
Mr. President, I move for suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of this item.
Second.
We have a motion and second for suspension of the rules. I'll remind the members this does require unanimous consent in order to move forward. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw? Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. It's 7 ayes, 0 nays for suspension of rules. Mr. Corley, having read the ordinance, we'll now entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 21-2541.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of ordinance number 21-2541.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the members? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Hearing and seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Now move to item number 22, ordinance number 21-2542. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance approves and adopts the general fund budget, special revenue fund budget, and a capital project fund budget for the city of Hoover, Alabama for the period beginning October 1, 2021 through September 30th, 2022.
Mr. President, I ask for suspension of the rules for immediate consideration on this item as well.
Second.
Have a motion and second for suspension of rules. For the members of the public, our fiscal year ends September 30th of this year, and this is the last time we meet before that. So we would like to take this item up tonight. If there are any members or members of the public who speak and on behalf of this item and wish to have a question that cannot be answered tonight, of course, the council can gather again before the end of the fiscal year for a specially called meeting. We have a motion and second for suspension of the rules. That does require 100% consensus. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. 7 ayes, 0 nays. Rules are suspended, and we have heard the ordinance, and we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move for adoption of ordinance number 21-2542.
Second.
Have a motion and second for adoption of the ordinance. Any questions or comments from members of the body?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
If you can, you have time, can you give a brief 300 elevator speech on how much work was done into getting to this point with the budget? I know we had several meetings. People may not have been here, and I want them to think that it was just a rush through phrase, but there's a lot that went into this process.
I would defer to our budget chairman, Mr. Posey, to kind of give the synopsis of that. Mr. Posey, would you enlighten us?
Thank you, Mr.
Murphy.
President. So the budget process actually begins the day after the last budget is passed. So starting on October 2nd, we'll start looking forward to the next year and getting things together. And it really starts around July coming together into a formed budget where we have requests, and then we look at what can be filled within those requests within the amount of revenue we have each year. We had a budget hearing back in August where we heard from each department head and heard what they were looking to have in the budget that year, and then the very next work session we heard from the mayor on his proposed budget. And from there we take it and we look at it, make notes, talk back and forth with the mayor, Mr. Rice and Ms. Bolt, and discuss what changes we like to see, differences, and then we all come together and say, okay, well, this is our final document, and that's where we are tonight. One thing about the way we do the budget now that differed last year and will differ going forward is that we take a mid-year look at the budget. So when it comes to March, we will look at where we are as far as revenue, where we are expenditures, and see if there's some items that maybe that did not make the first cut can come back. That's a new process. It's something we started last year and something we are adopting again this year, and hopefully will going forward, because you get a chance to see where you are and your revenue and see if there's some things that you can bring back this year instead of making everybody wait another calendar year to hear those things. So that's where we are on the process. I want to thank everybody for their input, for their collaboration, and for a smooth budget process. This is the earliest we have been done in a number of years, and it gives them 10 days to put everything in the system. So come October 1st, everything's ready to roll.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Outstanding work this year, and Mr. Murphy, thank you for asking that question. I'm glad you brought that up. Any questions or comments from members of the body on what I've always said I believe is our most important vote of the year? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Posey?
Aye.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Lyda?
Aye. 7 ayes, 0 nays. Motion carries and ordinance is adopted, as will the budget. Mayor, I want to congratulate you and Ms. Bolt, Mr. Rice, and all the department heads. I can only fathom how many man hours and woman hours go into this process. But Mr. Shaw commented, and I concur, this is probably the smoothest budget process we've had. The reports were outstanding, the engagement was outstanding, and it made it a smooth process. So thank you all very, very much.
Well, I'd like to pass that right back to you guys, you gentlemen. I appreciate all the effort that you put into it, a lot of hard work. You didn't glance through it by any means. You looked at it, asked great questions, and I think that we worked together to get here. And I just appreciate that we are able to get it passed so quickly, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done even now to get the budget in process. So thank you for your kind words.
Yes, sir. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Now I ask, are there any comments from the council? Hearing none. Any member of the public have any public comments tonight? Yes, sir. If you'll come forward with your name and address, please. You're recognized for 3 minutes.
My name's Kathy Burtonzetti, live on 2656 Creekview Drive. Brought a few stragglers with me tonight, our neighbors. I printed up a couple of pictures of what happened this past Saturday. Some of that's been addressed now, but I still think it's worthwhile for you to see these in person. I just had a couple of questions. In the top picture, I actually had done a video, but this is a picture of a garbage dumpster that is settled down in back of 3060 Whispering Pines Circle. Somebody had posted on Nextdoor, and it's an older gentleman, I believe, and he said he has no way to remove that. So I'm just posing the question as to what can be done about this. Also, if there's any damages from what was in that dumpster, who handles that? We've had a fish kill before in our backyard, down our street. So that's my main question. The last picture, the second picture, my neighbor Dan, when you go down Creekview Drive off of Whispering Pine Circle, he's the first house on the left to pass over the bridge. And as you can see, that water is kind of at a level area. And when the water is down, it's about 8 feet lower. So this is a big deal for us as a neighborhood and for Dan. He's had to be rescued by the fire department. I addressed that before, when his house has been surrounded by water. So I want to thank y'all for the shoal survey and all that. We hope to see the results of it sooner than later so we can make plans on what we need to do as neighbors. And I thank you. Oh, and my assistants are going, y'all already did it. My assistants handed y'all the paperwork.
Ma'am, if we could get your contact information.
Yes,
We
I'll
need to do a little work on the dumpster question. I think it's a good
Absolutely.
question. We'll just need to
Okay,
do a little homework on that and get back with you on it.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public like to speak? Very good. Seeing none, we're adjourned.